now. Okay, so thank you very much to those of you that are joining us tonight for the It's a Royal Wedding webinar. For those of you that don't know me, I am Catherine Sims. I have worked for Primary Languages Network for about 6 years as a language teacher. I've also been a PLDA mentor, which is the Primary Languages Development Award. That involves guiding people through the Primary Languages Development Award and supporting them along the way. There's more information about the award on our website, so if you are interested, either get in touch with me or have a look on our website. And most recently, I have been the network coordinator, which has kept me very busy, doing VLE tours. So for those of you that have had those, I hope you found those beneficial. And anybody interested in one of those, please get in touch. I've also been involved with organising and advertising various different events, including the conference and other things. I've also been involved with processing membership, so when people want to join the network, it's me that sorts all that out and sets you up and so on. And most recently, I've been arranging like CPD and different staff meetings and things like that. So it keeps me very busy and I do enjoy it. So this is my first webinar tonight, so I am excited and I hope you will enjoy it. I hope you'll bear with me for a few minutes, because whilst I'm on the front line delivering this webinar, there are a lot of people that have been involved behind the scenes. I want to firstly thank everybody who's here and everybody who's listening afterwards. Thank you for joining us for this webinar, and I hope that you will find it useful and enjoy using the resources I'm going to show you. I want to say a huge thank you to Joanne. Due to unforeseen circumstances, Joanne can't do the webinar tonight, but she has come up with the main idea for this webinar, and it's really, really good. She should be very excited about it. So I want to say a really big thank you to Joanne, and I hope I can do it justice for you. I want to say a big thank you to Janet and Peter as well. For Janet, who has found a load of resources on the VLE for me that I'm going to share with you tonight. She's also written a blog, which I'm going to share with you a little bit later on. And some of the resources have also been made by Janet. So thank you very much to her. Big thank you to Emily and Irene, who have done a lot of the audio that we're going to hear a little bit of tonight. They have really supported me with that. Thank you to Anna. If you can see on your screen at the moment, the little bride and groom at the top, and we've got what I've named the lady guest and the gentleman guest down at the bottom. Those pictures have been drawn by Anna. She's a much better artist than me, so thank you, Anna, for doing those, because I couldn't have done as good a job as you have, so thanks for that. Kate Kennedy has written us a fantastic song in French and in Spanish. It's called Let's Celebrate. And I think you'll probably recognise the tune when I play you a little snippet later on. But she's done a fabulous job with that. And thank you to Michelle, who is fabulous with technology. She has developed for us some talking hats. I'm going to leave you in suspense there, but you will find out a little bit more about that later on. Just a couple of housekeeping things. For those of you that are joining us or are listening who are our members, you can find all of the resources and everything that you need on our VLE. If you go into the network resources section, in there's a folder called Network Meetings and Webinars. Head on into there and you should be able to find a folder called It's a Royal Wedding, and you'll find all the resources in there in French and Spanish on our VLE there. If you are not one of our members, you can head over to our website and go into the Active Lingo Shop section. And if you head into there, they've got the resources in French and Spanish, and it's under the heading Webinars, and you can get an activity pack there for $1.99. However, if you really like what you see tonight, or perhaps you've seen some of our other webinars, then you may want to head on over to the section named Membership on our website, and we have quite a lot of different options for membership. So have a look there and see if there's anything there that takes your fancy. Okay, right, so let's get started then. So you may have heard on the news that Prince Harry is getting married to Meghan Markle. And so because of that, we have decided that we are going to create a special webinar around the royal wedding. The idea has come from Joanne, as I mentioned earlier, and it's meant to be a whole class speaking performance and as a sort of a news report. And the idea being that all the children will be involved in various different roles. They may choose to be reporters, news reporters at the royal wedding, or they may decide that they're going to be a guest at the wedding. This allows the children to either be themselves, because as we know, members of public have been invited to the wedding, or they could pretend that they are actually members of the family that have been invited to the wedding. The beauty of this activity is we can tailor it to the children's linguistic abilities, so it can be differentiated by outcome. And I'll explain a little bit more about that on the next slide. And it can either be a standalone lesson, if that's what you want to do with it, or if your children really, really like it, then we're going to give you the option to extend that to a series of lessons. Whilst we have created this because of the royal wedding, it doesn't necessarily have to be done around the royal wedding. It can be any wedding. So if you have a teacher in your school who's getting married, or perhaps a parent or something, you want to do it around that, then that's absolutely fine. But the reason we've done it is because of the royal wedding. But how you use it is up to you. So as I was speaking about earlier, the linguistic abilities, if you do follow our scheme of work, this gets the children set up really beautifully to speak about the things that you can see on the screen here. So, for example, your stage 1 learners or your year 3s, we would expect them to be able to introduce themselves using their name and the target language. We may expect them to be able to say how they're feeling on the wedding day, and they might be able to comment on the colours of the flowers and various other things at the wedding. So that's the sort of thing we'd expect our year 3s or stage 1 learners to be able to do. For your stage 2 learners or year 4, especially those who are following our scheme of work, they've just done family members last term, so they should be able to introduce themselves as the family members who are attending the wedding. So we'd expect them to be able to do that. For your stage 3 learners or your year 5s, we'd expect them to be able to describe the clothes that they're wearing. And in our scheme of work, the year 5s have just done describing outfits and fancy dress and describing the colour and the size of items of clothing. So they should be able to do that. They may be able to recall that at the end of year 4, they did weather phrases. So that might be something they can comment on. And then back in September in our scheme of work, we extended the feelings phrases that they use. So in lower key stage 2, we'd expect them to say things like comme si, comme ça, ça va bien, ça va mal, or in Spanish, estoy bien, así, así, that sort of thing. But in the year 5, we would expect them to be able to say things like estoy feliz or estoy fenomenal, and in the French, je suis en pleine forme, and those sorts of advanced phrases we'd expect them to be able to say. And for your stage 4 or year 6 learners, they will have just done their favourite things and expressing favourite things. So as well as all of the above, we'd expect them to be expressing their favourite things at the wedding. So that gives you an idea of how you can differentiate between year groups. So we've created quite a few supporting documents that you can use with your children. Janet has come up with the journalist notepad, which is really good, and this has got various different categories. It's available in French and Spanish. You can see the French one on the screen here. You can use this in various different ways. You may wish them to use it as a support for the speaking, so they might write some notes on what they want to say about the different categories. The journalists may want to make notes and observations or pretend that that's their notepad in front of them when they're asking the questions of the guests. You may wish to turn this into a writing activity, so the children may be making observations at the royal wedding or a wedding, and they can write sentences down and turn that into a writing activity. It's really up to you. We're trying to give you lots of different options, and you can use it in whichever way you want to use it. And you may wish to give, I think there's 6 pages in total, you may wish to give the children 1 page or a series of pages in a group, and they can come up with the sentences or the notes and their observations there. If I click on this, it's just going to take us through to the journalist notepad so that you can see what it looks like in full. So you can see we've got various different categories. This is the French example, but it does exist in Spanish as well. So you can see all the different categories, le temps, so expressing the weather, what the cake's like, who's attending the wedding, and various other things there as well. Okay, so that shows you the journalist notepad. Let's try to get rid of me already. Right, so there we go. We've also come up with the prompt sheets. We've come up with these prompt sheets to help and support the children in their speaking activity. And this is again available in French and in Spanish. And we've got one for the guests, which has got a variety of sentences that they may want to use. And we have one for the reporters as well, which has a series of questions. So if I just click on this one, it's going to take us through to the Spanish guest prompt sheets. So what we have here are various different phrases that the children may want to use, introducing themselves, talking about the weather, the flowers, the cake, what they're wearing. This is just a starting point, and hopefully the children will be able to build on this and come up with other sentences. And if you go through it on the VLA or as a PowerPoint, then you'll see that we've also got the audio attached.
Hola, me llamo, soy la madre.
So that just gives you an idea of what we got there. So those are the introductions, and the other categories are there as well. Things like the cake and the weather and so on and so forth. It just gives the children a starting point of what sorts of phrases they can use, and they may wish to build on that. That's just a starting point. Not going back to the PowerPoint now. So that is how we're going to support the children. This is how I would probably use it with my upper key stage 2 classes, and they can use the prompt sheet to support themselves, or they can use the journalist notepad. It's entirely up to you, but those documents are there to support your children with this activity. In lower key stage 2, I'd probably be more tempted to use the journalist notepad and take the pictures and take the words and maybe do a bit of a matching activity, so you can get them to match up the different activities, the words with the pictures. And then you could lead this to a game like charades or to Simon Says, practicing the various different categories that we've got there. And when they come to their speaking activity, I mean, you may be able to use this with any year group, but perhaps your less confident speakers, they might want to use our puppets that we have. So the pictures that Anna did, we've put those into a PDF format so you can print those off. And if you've got any shy speakers or any children that want to hide behind a puppet, then you can print these off and they can use those as a support if necessary. I'm just going to click on this link here, and it's just going to take us through to the bride example. So there's the bride, looking very nice. And we also have the groom, the one that I've called lady guest and gentleman guest. So those are there for you to use in whichever way you want. So that's how I would use it in lower key stage 2. So, of course, you can't have a wedding without some music. So thank you again to Kate, who has come up with our Let's Celebrate song. I think it's quite important to say that while she's created this for the It's a Royal Wedding theme, it doesn't necessarily have to be used in this context. You may wish to use this song at an end-of-year assembly where you want to celebrate a full year's language learning. So by all means, don't feel you have to use this in this context. You can use it any way that you like. So this is available in French and in Spanish, but I've just hyperlinked the Spanish version here. So let's have a little listen and see if you recognize the tune. It's just going to take us through to the PowerPoint where it's got the lyrics, and then I'll play the sound file. There we go. Vamos a celebrar. So that's just a little taster for you. So I hope you recognise the music there. I'm a huge Disney fan, so I loved that when I heard Kate's song. So thank you very much to Kate again for doing that for us. And as I said, that's available in the French and the Spanish. Moving on. So it can often be a little bit tricky to think about how you're going to organise this thing. So I've just put a few suggestions here. By all means, feel free to follow what I've put here. But if you've got any other ideas, then don't feel you have to stick to what I've mentioned here. But I would expect all of the children to be involved in various different roles. Maybe start with 2 children who would be in the newsroom and they introduce the report. I've put a suggestion here of how you might want to introduce the report here in French and in Spanish, but by all means, if you've got another way of using it, that's absolutely fine. That's just a suggestion. And then we'd want really to see your reporters interviewing the guests. They may be using the reporter's notepad to make the notes and observations as they're asking the questions. We want to see the guests answering the questions of the reporters and also the guests talking to each other. And I've put a little suggestion here of what direction we're going to go in here. So that's one way that you could do it, or you may want to do something a little bit different, and that's where I'm going to lead on to these talking hats that I've referred to earlier on. So that's just one way you could do it. And another way that you may want to do it is that the children could design some hats that the guests might be wearing at the wedding, and they could, after they've recapped their family members, they could then record themselves using an app like Chatterpix and introduce themselves as members of the bride and groom's family. And that's exactly what Michelle has done for us. So I'm going to take you through now to the videos that she's recorded for us. So these are our speaking hats that I've been referring to. So I've just got 2 examples here. There are 8 in total, and I'll explain a little bit more about this after I've shown you these recordings and what Michelle has done with them.
Salut, je suis la sœur de la mariée.
So that's one. Just take you through to the other one.
Bonjour, je suis le frère de la mariée.
So as I said, that's just 2 examples of our speaking hats. We've got 8 in total. And what Michelle has done is she's recorded these for us, so thank you to her, and then created a sort of extension activity for the children to do. So I'm going to show you that in a little bit more detail now. Now this talking hats or a wedding hat family tree extension is currently available in French. So if you do want it to be available in the Spanish, please get in touch with me and we can sort that out, no problem. But at the moment, it's just available in the French. So what this PowerPoint is, and it's called the Wedding Hats PowerPoint, if you're looking out for it, will be in the French section, is a recording of 8 different headsets that you can see here, or hats, or whatever you want to call them. And what the children have to do is cut out these different pictures. This is one slide on the PowerPoint, and they cut out those. Then they listen to the recordings of the 8 different hats, and then they have to stick it on this hat family tree over here. So that's quite a nice activity for them to do. I'm just going to take you through to the PowerPoint now just to show you exactly what it is. And it looks like, let's try that again. Oops. All right, try that one again. There we go. So this is the PowerPoint. This is slide number 1, and you'll want to print slide number 1 off, and the children will need to have 1 each if you want this to be an individual activity. The children will cut all of these hats out, and then you can go through the PowerPoint and click on the various different hyperlinks. These pictures here are hyperlinks, and they'll take you to the recording, play the video, and the children have to listen to each of the different hats. And then when they get through to slide number 10, they will find themselves at the family tree, and they have to stick those hats in the right place to create the wedding hat family tree. And then if you go on to slide number 11, you might not want to show your children this until the end. There you've got your answers. So you can use that as an answer sheet. So if you print off slides number 1 and number 10, give those to your children, and then they can do that as a cutting and sticking activity and a listening exercise as well. So that's really good. And as I said, this is currently only available in French, but if you do want it in a Spanish version, please get in touch because we can sort that out for you, no problem. Okay, so carrying on. So that's the main idea there that we had, but if your children take to this theme so much, then you may wish to extend it a little bit and continue with the wedding theme. So for our members, we have a wedding section on the VLE, and I've got it hyperlinked here. So if you come into this PowerPoint afterwards, then you click on this link and it will take you straight through to that section. I'm going to take us there now just to show you what we've got. It's a really nice section. It's been here a little while, I think, and it's got all sorts of different activities. I'm not going to go into too much detail here because I'm sure you're going to want to come in and have a look yourselves and see what's there and what you want to use. But there's various different activities the children can do. For example, if I go into the wedding food and cakes and go into the wedding cake designs, then you can see the children can actually design a wedding cake and label it with the various different features. This is just here as an example, and it's on its way. There you go. And it's got various different features that the children may want to include and write a sentence to describe it. So that's quite a nice extension activity. La tartare, that's the Spanish example. There are some in French and also some in German as well. It's a really good opportunity also to just compare weddings in our country and weddings in other countries as well. So there's an example of a French wedding, a Spanish wedding, and a German wedding in this folder here at the wedding. We've got those there in those different folders. And this is a brilliant opportunity for them to see something a little bit different and see how these weddings are celebrated and just look at what the similarities and the differences are there, and investigating and comparing wedding traditions. So those are some lovely activities there if you want to carry on with this wedding theme. I'm just going to take you back to the main PowerPoint. Just one other thing to mention, which is Janet's blog post. And what she's done here is she's written this blog, so thank you to Janet. And I'm just going to take you through to it now. And she's taken Henri Rousseau's A Country Wedding and given you various different activities that you can do around that picture. If I just take you down, I'll click on the link that takes us to the picture here. She's there, A Country Wedding, and in her blog, she just suggests various different activities, from just discussing who the people in the picture could be and expressing family members, like we mentioned with the year 4s, playing charades. And then you may even want to extend that to create a wedding album where the children will do freeze frames at the wedding, take the pictures, put it into an album, and maybe put some messages as well. And it could be a sort of a wedding album for after the wedding. So that's a lovely activity there. And there are various others there that you can go and have a look at, which I'm not going to go on in too much detail tonight. So those are the main ideas that I wanted to share with you tonight. I'm going to pause now for a minute or two, and you can use the chat function if you had any questions, or if I went through anything too fast and you want to ask me to repeat anything, please do. And so just pause for a couple of minutes and see if anybody has got any questions. I finished, because I know I said it at the beginning, but just in case anybody arrived a little bit late and they didn't hear, where you can get these resources, if you are one of our members, it's go into the VLA onto your homepage, scroll down on the left hand side, go to Network Resources. In Network Resources is the folder Network Meetings and Webinars, and in there you should find the folder It's a Royal Wedding, and everything that I've shown you here tonight, will be in there. If you are not one of our members, then head over to our website, www.primarylanguages.net, and go into our active lingo shop. The resources will be there in French and Spanish, and you can purchase them there from our website. Or if you enjoyed tonight so much that you want to become a member, then head over to our membership section. We've got lots of different options there. So I don't think anybody has got anything else they want to ask. So I just want to remind you of a couple of things before I let you go. And that is that somebody has put something. Just hang on a minute. Thank you. Very informative. Yes. Oh, that's brilliant. That's good to know. Lovely. I'm glad you found it beneficial. So just before everybody goes, just want to remind you of a couple more exciting things that we've got coming up. That is Robert's webinar is coming up on Thursday, the 17th of May. It will be at 8 o'clock. If you've been with us for a little while, you'll know that Robert has done us some fabulous webinars on in autumn term on superheroes, and in spring term it was on dragons and unicorns, and they're really, really interesting and really exciting, and the children always respond really, really positively to his resources. So do make sure that you tune in for his summer term webinar, which is going to be all about a summer Hawaiian party. I am very, very excited about this. So make sure that you tune in for that. Sign up on our website. You can again register to watch live on the night or to receive a recording if that's not a good time for you. And needless to say, the conference is very, very fast approaching. So make sure that you do sign up there. It's again on our website, on our events page. Limited places on this one, everybody. So please don't be disappointed by leaving it to the last minute and finding out we're fully booked, because we were fully booked last year. So make sure that you book in. We've got some brilliant keynote speakers, a huge range of exhibitors that are going to be there selling you brilliant resources. And we've even got some really exciting presentations from some of our very own Primary Languages Network associate teachers. It's going to be a brilliant day. It always is a brilliant day. So please make sure that you don't miss out and go to our events section on our website and sign up for your place. Remember that premium members, your place is free. Our other members, you get a discount. But if you're not a member, you can still attend. You just have to pay the full price for your tickets. Okay, so please make sure you don't miss out. And if there's nothing else on the chat, then I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I hope that you've enjoyed tonight. I hope you've got some really good ideas there. And if you're watching later on, I hope you find this just as beneficial as those that are listening tonight. So thank you very much for joining me. Oh, just one more thing on the chat.